Petra was not destroyed. It was not burned. It was not captured in a war. And yet, one day, people simply stopped living in this city. The temples, tombs, and palaces carved into stone were still there. The water channels, the roads, the marketplaces. Everything remained. But the people were gone. Today, Petra lies in the deserts of Jordan. But once, it was one of the richest cities of the ancient world. It stood at the heart of major trade routes. Spices, silk, incense, and precious stones all passed through this city. And that leads to an obvious question. Why would a city like this be abandoned? Was it a disaster? Or did its people sense an approaching danger before it was too late? These were the same questions that came to my mind. And this video is not about how Petra disappeared, but why it may have been deliberately abandoned. The story of Petra begins with the Nabataeans. They were a people of nomadic origin. But what truly set them apart from other civilizations was one critical skill: water management. They managed to survive in the middle of the desert. They collected rainwater, stored it, and distributed it throughout the city. Through rock-carved channels, underground cisterns, and dams, Petra became an oasis in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. This allowed the city to grow, to prosper, and eventually to become a major center of trade. The caravans that passed through Petra did not carry goods alone. They carried knowledge, culture, and power. The city became a bridge between Rome, Egypt, and Arabia. And for a long time, Petra seemed untouchable. But as with any powerful system, Petra depended on a single fragile balance. And once that balance began to shift, everything started to change. If you enjoy videos about ancient cities and lost civilizations, you can consider subscribing to the channel. Petra was not just a city, it was a system. At sunrise, the city came alive. Markets filled with people, and caravans entered through its gates. The Nabataeans controlled the trade of incense, one of the most valuable commodities of the ancient world. Spices, silk, precious stones, and rare metals also passed through Petra. This trade brought immense wealth to the city. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Petra was the organization of daily life. Despite being surrounded by desert, the city had constantly flowing water, public baths, gardens. This was no coincidence. The Nabataeans built an intricate system that captured every drop of rain. Rock-carved channels, cisterns, and hidden waterways kept the city alive year-round. This system controlled not only life, but power. Whoever controlled the water controlled the city. However, such a delicate system had one weakness: maintenance. Channels had to be cleaned constantly. Dams needed repairs. If even one part failed, a chain reaction would begin. And over time, the first link in that chain started to loosen. Petra's decline was not sudden. It was slow and silent. The first change came with trade routes. As maritime trade expanded, land-based caravans lost their importance. This meant a steady loss of income for Petra. As wealth declined, fewer resources were allocated to maintaining the water system. At the same time, the region experienced powerful earthquakes. These earthquakes did not destroy the city outright, but they damaged the water infrastructure. A broken channel, a blocked cistern, a weakened dam. In the desert, even small failures could be fatal. As the narrative makes clear, Petra was no longer as safe or reliable as it once had been. And with the Roman Empire asserting control over the region, the political power of the Nabataeans weakened. The city could no longer control its own fate. What makes this especially interesting is one thing: Petra was still livable. Before the city fully collapsed, people began to leave. Which brings us to the central question. If Petra was still standing, why was it abandoned? If you enjoy this kind of documentary-style storytelling, you'll find similar videos on the channel. Why was Petra abandoned? There is no single definitive answer, but historians and archaeologists point to several strong theories. Theory 1. Climate change and drought. One theory suggests prolonged droughts in the region. Rainfall decreased. Water reserves declined. Petra's water system was advanced, but it was never infinite. Without rain, even the most sophisticated system would fail. As drought intensified, agriculture became difficult. Food grew scarce. Life became expensive. For many, the most logical choice was to migrate to more livable regions. Theory 2. Earthquakes and infrastructure. Failure. Petra was located near active fault lines. Over time, repeated earthquakes caused serious damage to its infrastructure. The city itself remained standing, but the invisible systems, the lifelines, were compromised. A collapsed channel, a damaged dam, a disrupted flow of water. Each event weakened the balance further. Eventually, Petra became an unreliable place to live. Theory 3. The end of trade. Petra existed because of trade, but when trade routes shifted, the city lost its purpose. Maritime trade accelerated. Caravan routes faded. Petra was no longer essential. Income declined. Maintenance stopped. The system failed. A city that loses its economic foundation cannot keep its people, no matter what it does. Theory 4. A deliberate and planned abandonment. Perhaps the most intriguing theory is this. Petra may have been abandoned intentionally, because within the city there are no signs of panic, no evidence of sudden destruction, no mass graves. This suggests that people did not flee. They relocated. The Nabataeans may have realized that the city was no longer sustainable and gradually moved elsewhere. This may not have been a collapse, but a decision. Conclusion. Petra was not destroyed. It was forgotten. And that forgetting may not have been caused by disaster, but by choice. Perhaps the people of Petra left at the right moment, before the city completely failed. And that is what makes Petra one of the most fascinating cities in history. Because sometimes, the greatest disaster is not leaving, but staying. What do you think? Was Petra abandoned by necessity or by design? For more documentaries like this, you can consider subscribing to the channel.